Audio test. All right, we are live. It is Wednesday. It's 4:30 p.m. It's Central Time. Hello, Andrew. Survived the rain today?
I did. I seemed to find myself at my desk most of the day today, so I barely even noticed it. How about you?
Same here. Same here. The only one that seemed quite excited about the rain was our 5 ducks. They were out running on the grass. This is great. This is the best.
I would imagine so. They had to have been having the time of their lives.
Yeah. Horses and goats were cuddling in their shadows like, I don't like this. But the ducks was like, ooh, this is good.
Yeah, finally. A little break from the heat over the last week.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah.
Excellent.
I noticed you finally finished up your not so small Lego set there in the background. Baradur, Lord of the Rings.
I did. It's been, as you well know, I think it's been sitting on my desk in an uncompleted or in another table in an uncompleted state for quite a while. So I was happy to finish up. Part of what took so long was all these lights on there. They're a bit of a pain to put on while you're building the set because they're sort of a third party thing. But I gotta admit, it looks pretty cool once it's lit up.
It's pretty cool. All right.
Nice and ominous.
Indeed. Makes a nice background.
Well, thank you.
All right. So, what's new this week?
So a few things that I wanted to talk about, some roadmap items, quite a few tweets I came across actually that were sort of reminders, things to share. I've got a couple of things if you want to share my screen.
I will in just a brief second. I just wanted to get the chat open up in a separate window here, so
Sounds good.
I don't miss any.
I see some familiar names in the chat already.
Oh, there you go. All right, your screen is coming up, sir.
All right.
And there we are.
There we are. So I have the Microsoft 365 roadmap up, but that's not the exciting thing, that there is a Microsoft 365 roadmap. It's a particular item that I saw announced, and that is unattended remote help in Intune, coming at the beginning of 2026. Now, we had unattended remote help in another management tool for a very long time, but for those that have remote help, the remote help add-on in Intune or the Intune suite, we'll see how this works in practice, but in theory, this is a very welcome change. If we need to remote into a device where a user is not available, or we don't have to go through sort of the quick assist process, essentially, I was pretty excited to see this hit the roadmap the other day.
Oh, that is shiny. I totally agree. Yeah.
You said it best. That's a great way to summarize it. It is shiny.
Yeah.
I came across this, was just very interesting to me, this tweet from Manel. After fighting for several hours with the drivers of a new laptop they've received because the microphone was not detected, good Lord, turned out that the laptops they ordered did not come with microphones. And I don't ever remember a time that I've seen that. It was shocking enough that I've felt it was worth pointing out. Make sure when you are ordering new laptops, if you want them to have microphones, make sure they have them.
Well, I guess most people are using headsets these days, but not having one, that sounds odd, but all right.
Yeah, exactly. Came across this one from Nathan McNulty. I think I've shared this before, but it is a worthy. I think it's worthy of repeating. So if you are managing macOS in your environment and you have Defender for Endpoint, as Nathan points out here, if you want to onboard those devices into Defender for Endpoint, the documentation for this is brutal. It is many steps. It is quite challenging to get through all of this. All of these steps, configurations, and things like that. But Nathan has put together, or at least pointed out, basically an easier way to do this. 4 different policies that we need to assign out to our Mac OS devices. Much easier, worth going through the documentation here if you are managing Macs and Defender for Endpoint through Intune. So really just resharing something in the past. And then a couple of follow-ups here that I saw. First and foremost, congratulations, Johan. I think this may have been announced previously, but I saw this tweet from John Towles about the Intune speakers that have been announced for Workplace Ninjas US in December. So I wanted to point this out because there's some phenomenal speakers, but also there are a couple of days left on the early bird pricing for this conference.
Yeah.
I unfortunately won't be there, but I'm really looking forward to hearing how it is. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The European version of the event has been fantastic, so I have high hopes for the first US event. So both John Towles, who's doing this tweet, and in fact, Michael Niehaus is part of the organization for it. So looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And then we talked about this briefly, maybe it was last week or the week before, that Windows Media was now going to be coming with updated inbox apps, or the built-in store apps. But I noticed Panu posted in the July image, tested it, and the main applications like Snipping Tool and Paint are still quite old in the current media. Have you come across that as well, Johan?
No, I still have on my, I wouldn't say bucket list, but I have on my to-do list to do some comparison in between, say, the May media and the July media, just to see what difference it does make and how many apps that actually have to be updated anyway. Because some of these apps are, I mean, the built-in components, they are updated every other day sometimes.
Yeah.
It doesn't follow any patch Tuesday cycles or anything that's like, no, today's Wednesday, I feel like it, so let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll have some new media here within the next couple of weeks as well. So maybe it's going to take a little bit longer to get that through.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. And then the last 2 things I had, came across this blog post. I saw it shared from a few different folks, but Stephen Hosking over at Microsoft wrote a sort of a quick guide that you can use as a base or a checklist for upgrading and migrating to cloud native management on your Windows endpoints. So I just liked that there are many guides. There are things that Johan and I talk about on how to upgrade to Windows 11. But I really like this as a quick sort of checklist or sanity check on a few things that you really should pay attention to if you want to make this move all at once. So, for example, make sure your identities are synced, review group policy, use co-management if you're using ConfigMgr. A lot of different things that you can do to make your life easier as you are making this migration over to a cloud-native world. So I thought this was a really cool blog post to share. And last but not least, we talked about it last week, but Johan and I had a very fun time last Thursday morning presenting a mini course on the Academy here. And that was this one right here, Intune Automation using Microsoft Graph. This was an update from a mini course that we did a while back. Just had a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this course. As you always say, Johan, I've got to steal this line from you, but the price was just right. And for those of you that are just getting started with Graph or doing a little bit of automation in Intune, definitely recommend going back and checking out the recording for this. I'm a little bit biased, but I think we had some pretty good content in there and how you can get started pretty quickly. Graph can be a little bit daunting at times. I'm speaking from experience for myself here. So, yeah,
Agreed.
just want to call that one out.
Just keeping the graph module is a challenge on its own.
Exactly. It's like its own part-time job sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have that screen open. Can you go back just one step?
I can.
Because we did mention this last week, but we have an upcoming mini course here in August, joined by Dan Cunningham from the PSADT team. So very excited to have that course coming up as well, or training coming up.
Yes. Agreed.
All right.
That was what I had for this week.
All right. I had one thing that we sent out a newsletter early this morning, but there was one thing that I pinpointed in that one that I somehow managed to not mention last week. I don't know how I managed to not mention it last week, but I did. So long story short, this one is live basically as we speak. It started off Monday. And these videos are now available on demand, covering topics like Autopilot, driver management, connected cache, DO, all the good stuff. And it's not just the recordings themselves, but something that I found been amazingly good for these community events that Microsoft is hosting is when you go down to the comment section, whatever that one ended up being now. Here, it just took a while to reload here, but some of the questions and answers that came in here, gold information, absolutely gold. So recommend reading through those. It's just a couple of hundred. You'll do it at short afternoon, but they're good. So
excellent.
Highly recommend that one. And that also means it's time for our community update. And for those of you that joined us last week, you know that we have a little intro for that one. I'm very, very proud here. So I'm going to run that quickly here. Now, we did something else last week. We did the SysAdmin celebration because it was SysAdmin Day on Friday, celebrating all folks out there that are working often long hours supporting IT, and it's often or can be a not so thankful job all the time. So getting yelled at a lot for things not working as they should. So we took the time on celebrating the folks that are working in that field, and we even played a game called Pingo. For those of you who don't know what Pingo is the sysadmin version of Bingo. A long story short, you get a Pingo card. You can still play. We posted it on our community, but this is the card. A couple of things like if this happened to you today, one way or another, you basically check it off. And when if you get the full line, well, you get Pingo. And we had 3 winners that won a shiny external 2 terabyte SSD Samsung. And that was Jason, James, and Stuart who were joining us live last Friday. So congratulations to you 3. And we also threw in a couple of surprise gifts in that package. But that was fun. If you happen to miss the event, we did record it. It's available up on our Online Academy YouTube channel. So if you scoot over to the video section there, well, not that one, but this one, it had the half hour where we basically shared our war stories from a couple of years back and just had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Loved having Amy on there with us too.
Oh yeah, that was great fun. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the community, we also had a question coming in earlier today regarding 802.1x and imaging, and I figured it was worth pointing out that in all my years doing imaging in 802.1x environments, even though it's technical, possible to get certs and stuff added to boot images, it's just a royal pain. It's way more it's much better to configure the switches through some sort of API. And this is one of the better posts I've seen on the topic. But Cisco has an automation framework for this. So either if you write your own APIs on top of that API, or if you write code that goes directly against it, long story short, if you allow a machine to be online for 4 hours, it should be plenty to image that device. Because once you get image on it, then certificate will come down and it will get, permissions to be on the network. So add that in through a web service so it's secure. Even have one customer that they're using the 2-point Pixie server for this. So every time the Pixie boot the device, the machine would look it up, or the service would look it up in ConfigMgr and say, hey, are you even remotely allowed to be deployed? And if the answer was yes, it would go ahead and tell Cisco to unlock that port, and the device was allowed to be deployed. So quite creative solutions.
Fantastic.
And there was one more thing that came up in the community. Oh yeah, device migration. Was a question regarding, okay, I have one Intune tenant that we somehow ended up with, and we are now going to another tenant. How do we do this? There are tools out there, even commercial solutions, but long story short, it's about unenrolling the device from the old one and unrolling it again in the new one. But I did stumble across this solution here. I have not tested this myself, so I'll leave it like that, but it sounded interesting enough. So I'm just curious if any one of you out there have any experience with this one, but it does promise some automation around, going from tenant to tenant, basically. So just curious. If you happen to know, please let us know in the chat. Otherwise, we will leave it at that. That was all I had in terms of news, together with a community update. And well, congratulations again to James Stewart and Jason for snatching that grand prize. All right, Andrew.
All right. Question time. What do you think?
Hit me.
All right. Benny's joining us over on YouTube. They have a Windows 11 home machines in their organization and need them on Windows 11 Pro for Autopilot. Any tips on how to get the machines to work on Autopilot? Tested generic keys, but the operating system is not taking it. Once on Autopilot, we have the Windows 11 license key that will activate it.
Well, if a company bought a consumer device, I want to say throw it in the trash and buy a new one that comes with a business type hardware, but I'm assuming that's not an option, really. I mean, it happens a lot. You buy machines from vendors, either they were simply probably the wrong purchase decision all in all together, or they got sent with the wrong image or a very old image. Organizations wanted 23H2, they were sent with 24H2, or they were sent with something very much older, and they need to be restored. And either you have to ship it back to the vendor and say, hey, ship it back to us with a better version of Windows, or you reimage them yourself when you get them. That's a break fix scenario. We've covered this like a million times here on Office Hours. Even though imaging may not be the way you do things primarily anymore, modern, next level, whatever you call it, it's good to have that capability in-house for events like this, because it's relatively simple to have a very basic imaging solution up and running so that you can redeploy a machine that happened to be arriving to you in a state that you are simply not happy with it. Technically, there are upgrade options for most versions, but home, you have to go. I mean, you can upgrade a home to a pro version. There's an upgrade path for it, but I don't think you can do it through Intune. I haven't tried.
I don't believe so. I haven't either.
A guaranteed way is simply to image it to the pro version, but
Yep. +1 to that from my side. I agree. So Matthew is joining us over on YouTube as well, and says, I'm still unable to get application install steps to work during OSD. I was not able to get the cert to install to local computer store with the script. I learned that GPOs don't seem to process during task sequences. The apps still don't install. I think the cert is not actually being discovered by the client software, as the client to install before the cert is able to be auto-enrolled. How can I get the client to install the cert? Everything worked fine before we went to HTTPS only. And then last comment here from Matthew, not to be presumptuous, but a post on setting up PKI environment and OSD and application install would be great. Everything I can find seems to be out of date.
it really hasn't changed much for the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been fortunate enough to avoid PKI as much as possible. But I don't know if you know of any other resources, Johan, but like the Niles Windows Noob website, he's got a fantastic how to configure PKI post. You can actually share my screen if you want to show it.
All right, coming up.
And to your point, this is on server 2016, but it's not changed a lot, right?
No.
And I'm sure he's got applications in OSD on here as well as templates, or for templates. And again, even in that space, application deployment, creation, adding them to task sequences really hasn't changed too much over the last 10 years or so. Little things added on here and there for sure, but in principle, pretty close.
No, I totally agree. I'm hearing about the need to write an updated guide about it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't promise anything, but I'll make a note.
Well, and I will say too, I'm not sure if there are any gaps in here, but I just noticed in Niles' post, Microsoft released a new updated PKI guide of their own last month.
I haven't seen that one actually.
No, so he links to it right here. So maybe this will help. At least on the PKI side. Do you have any other recommendations for like getting started with OSD or application? I would just point back to Windows Noob generally, but
yeah, no, nothing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right.
It looks like there have been a couple of follow-up comments to this as well that I'll just share on the stream. Stuart mentioned that GPO shouldn't apply until the task is over and the client comes out of provisioning mode, and asked where are your apps failing during OSD, using enhanced HTTP and don't have issues, but PKIs on the roadmap. And Matthew just mentioned that there are client installs and PowerShell script runs to update some Windows apps. No EHTTP. But yeah, looks like a little back and forth. Matthew, I hope you're able to get it sorted.
I mean, we have a good chunk of customers who was running PKI, and they do not have that problem. So I'm assuming it's some sort of timing issues kicking in here, but it's hard to know for sure.
Oh, and Clive mentioned Patch My PC has a wonderful video on how to set up PKI, so I'll pull that link as well.
Ah, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. All right. Let me get back to my spot here. All right, so Clive's joining us over on Twitter and mentions, I know you guys heard about 24H2 and connectivity breaking. Been checking forums and Reddit, and that's been saying that it's WPAD enabled in their environment. Seems Windows updates resetting when HTTP proxy service being disabled. Will there ever be a fix to this? What do you recommend aside from not going to 24H2?
I don't know about that issue specifically, but if there is a bug that has not yet been fixed, one, make sure to file a bug, but you don't have to go to 24H2 right now. You have to do it within the next year or so, or 25H2, whatever you prefer there, but it's not a requirement unless there is some specific feature in 24H2 that the organization absolutely must have, and I cannot really think what that might be. Most of our customers are still on 23H2, even though they're slowly scooting over to 24H2.
Well said. I think that's been the sort of the common recommendation as well. And it's a great point, Johan. Just to reiterate, you don't have to go there. 23H2 is supported for a while.
Yeah, October 2026. Assuming you have the right version of 23H2, meaning enterprise your education.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're toast.
All right. Zach's joining us over on YouTube and is asking if we have tackled Graph API batch requests. I have a request to pull every discovered app from every iOS device, and naturally I get throttled and haven't quite gotten batch right yet.
Now, it's been a long time since I looked into the batch options. Nothing that I remember, nothing recently at least that I have worked on.
No, same. I know there have been, and Zach, you've probably come across them. I know there have been a couple of blog posts I've come across in the past. Martin Himkin wrote one on batching. And there was another one. I can't find, but
Microsoft has one I can bring up here on the screen. Let me just share my screen again. I think I managed to not do that.
oh, perfect. Well, that's good because I didn't think I was sharing when I put Martin's up here.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, that one and possibly this one here.
Okay.
This one is fairly updated as well. So those two perhaps give some idea.
It's funny. I just found I actually hadn't seen this in the last week, and the Intune subreddit has been quite active recently. There was just a post about this a week ago.
Oh, you have it up on your screen?
I do.
All right.
So,
Change.
a couple of options here. A new blog post. It looks like, again, I haven't looked into this or tried it myself or anything. So, but that might be an option. And then George as well posted, looks like a new script or function here on GitHub that also does some batching. So that might be another option. Again, I haven't tested this one either, but I have seen some of his PowerShell work, and it's everything else I've seen is really solid. So maybe a couple of options there, Zach.
All right.
All right. And then another comment from Zach here. Shameless plug for Mike O'Leary and I getting Windows 11 Calendar to open on any monitor you might have, not just your primary. That's awesome. But I see a colon there at the end. So I don't know if you posted a screenshot or something, those don't come through on YouTube. But yeah, I've been bitten by that before. Well, not bitten, but annoyed by it, I guess. My one clock is all the way over here, and then about 2 feet to the left is my other clock. And no calendar. So if you got a tip on how you guys figured that out, would love to hear it. If you're willing to share.
Can pin him down at MMS until he shares the
That's right.
solution.
Team up on him.
Yeah.
All right. Amir mentioned to Benny, follow up on Benny's comment about Windows Home, or question about Windows Home. If you have volume license keys available, you can use that to bump them up to Pro or Enterprise, and then reset the PC back to out-of-box experience again.
All right. Thank you for that.
Good tip. This is a Johan question right here. Barry is asking, and any comments on moving from using AD for boundaries to IP subnet boundaries? I have a CAS with 9 primaries over 500,000 endpoints. Advised that there would be around 65,000 IP subnet boundaries. We're not thrilled about it, is the follow-up comment from Barry.
Yeah, I would not do. Under any circumstance, I would recommend IP subnets as a boundary. Not a chance. IP ranges much better. A subnet may lie to you, an IP range never lies to you. An IP address is either within that range or it is not.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend going to IP ranges, and it's not too challenging. Have a PowerShell script that will find subnets that you have and convert them into ranges if you just want to have a list that you then import through PowerShell to ConfigMgr. But we worked with so many organizations where we basically script in these ranges to have a way of having like a central documentation for them. One customer that I worked with, a retail chain here in the US, that they call it their source of truth, was basically a big Excel spreadsheet where they have all their network info, and they use that to script in the ranges in ConfigMgr. A couple of other customers I work with, they're using their IPAM database, so typically info blocks. Those have APIs, you can script against them, or worst case, you can ask for an export and you can import from that one. And we also be using that to compare what they think is on the network to what ConfigMgr thinks in the network, because ideally they should be the same, but in the real world, that's not always the case. So ranges and PowerShell, that will be my recommendation on that one.
All right. Zach gave the answer. on the calendar being on both monitors. The solution was to bug Microsoft on X, and I happened to go poking around on Zach's account there and found this post that he retweeted. So thanks for that, Zach.
Good job. Yep.
Looks like it's coming to Windows 11. So that is awesome.
Okay, note to self. Bug the product folks on X.
Like you've never done it before.
Never. I haven't done it today, though. I'd like to mention that. I don't think I've done it today.
There you go. You have to meet your daily quota.
Yeah.
No, that's exciting. I mean, we obviously get excited about improvements to our management tools and PowerShell and Intune and everything, but quality of life improvements in Windows, those I get excited about.
Yep. All right.
So
anything else?
let's see.
Still have 23 minutes to go here.
Well, I do have. Let's see. Get rid of that. I think this might be the video for configuring the Patch My PC video for configuring PKI. Man, I can't talk today.
You and me both.
See, and I think this just reinforces your point, Johan. This video was posted 7 years ago, and the top comment is from last year saying, 5 years later, this video is still saving jobs.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So true. Okay, and Clive confirmed that was the video. So thank you for that. Let's see. Oh, Matthew had a question around boundaries. Let's see. Sorry if I missed it, but I had a question on boundaries. As I get errors saying that say Matthew's issue could be boundaries. I think I understand them, but can you show how to check that a client is in a boundary?
Yes. Let's see. Give me just a second here. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So in terms of boundaries, to go back to that topic, here is a somewhat large lab environment config manager. And if I scoot over to the boundaries, you can see I have a couple of them, but I have many, many more subnets. So many of these subnets are within a larger range. So this one here that is labeled 2PS lab, for example, actually 12 subnets, but it's only one range. So if you have an IP address that is within that range, it will belong to that boundary group. Now, you can also ask your client which boundary groups it's part of. And ideally, you should only get one answer. So if I go to one of my clients here, like this little friend, and I will ask it, let's see where I have that code. Perhaps here. Yeah, this my class in the client namespace for ConfigMgr will give you the boundary group that this particular machine is a member of. So this is the resource ID for that boundary group. And then you can scoot over to ConfigMgr and look it up, or you can scoot over to SQL. And let's see. This one here will do just fine. And it will tell you, based on that group ID, which boundary group is it. You can have reports with this. You can look for overlapping boundaries. Trevor Jones has a great report for overlapping boundaries. PowerShell script that you run that generates an HTML report. But it's basically, is a client's IP within the range or not? You can run some PowerShell script for that as well. There are many options to look up if you want to do it automatically. But yeah, I mean, this is how ConfigMgr finds resources. If I go back to my, so we use these. So a boundary group is always going to be having one or more boundaries in it. So if, in this case, since I'm using ranges, if there is a client that have an IP that happen to be within one of these ranges, that client is going to use these resources for things like management point, DP, state migration point, and software update point. So in this particular case, it's actually going a round robin in between these two, for example, when downloading content. So if you have 1,000 clients, you're going to have like 300-ish each DP. But this is how it finds content. And stuff like this has to be right. Otherwise, you have a miserable ConfigMgr experience.
Well, and I think that goes along with Matthew had a follow-up question here. Can the client be in two boundary groups?
Yes, but that's when you have overlapping boundaries, and that's when you're starting to run into issues. Yeah, the goal is to have only one.
Yep.
And I mean, I've seen organizations having like 10 distribution points, and they have like 5,000 boundaries. I'm like, no, you probably need about 10. It's like, it's about finding the smallest value of boundaries that you can build a range upon, put that to the right boundary group, and then be done with it. Keeping things simple goes a long way.
Yeah, well said.
One company I worked with, we went from 5,087 boundaries down to like 14. Slightly easier to manage 14, but
a couple of other useful tips in here. Stuart mentioned adding the boundary column in the ConfigMgr console. Yep, quick way to see there. And Zach also mentioned location services.log on the client.
Yeah. So I'm assuming they're referring to, I'm assuming devices.
Yep.
This one here. We'll give it that one also. Yep. Where did it go? There, boundary groups, yeah. Such a surprise that my Chicago clients is in the Chicago boundary group.
Shocking.
Shocking, yeah. Yeah, right now I'm testing a new release of Cypher at the moment, so I have almost 200 machines running in my lab right now. It's pretty warm.
Ooh. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, fun life. But yeah,
Well, last week when you showed us, the machine was pretty loaded up.
a little bit. I'm surprised that you cannot hear it, but the microphone is good as I the noise canceling.
Yeah.
All right.
So Matthew is asking what I think I found, unless I'm incorrect, is that until it has a client installed, that info doesn't show up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I would assume so as well.
I might have a couple without a client. There is no chance that will be populated without it. So if I search for machines that do not have a client, yeah, that no, it's blank.
Yep.
So it does get assigned when you install the agent. So there we are. All right. Any other questions? Still 13 more minutes.
Plenty of time for a few more.
Oh yeah. I mean, worth mentioning, I think that in addition to these boundaries, it's often useful to implement a little bit of logic to check what resources clients are using in a ConfigMgr environment. For example, when you have health check scripts running, we often look up, okay, which distribution point did you decide to use last time? And we make a report out of that. Because if you start to see clients using wrong DPs, well, you can bet a cup of coffee on its being boundaries that are incorrect. And that goes spoke to that communication between the network folks and config manager team that we talked about earlier, that information has to be synced, but it doesn't always get synced. So often you need to implement something in place so that you're making sure that you have the right info in config manager. Because there are so many other things that gets impacted by this. Like, yeah, we don't get software. Okay, what software don't you get? Well, patches. Probably important.
Would think so.
Yeah. All right. I do not see any more questions.
No, we're getting let off the hook pretty easy today.
All right then. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Andrew, for being here with me. And we certainly hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Johan. Thanks, everybody.